What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Brown Love coming to you about a very controversial topic. But what do I love? I love practical wisdom. I love practical application that we can use in this thing called life. We're currently in year 2020, which comes with a plethora of problems. Every month there's a situation. But before we get started, if you could go ahead and hook up your boy with a like, a comment, a subscribe. Uh, Let my people eat. It'll be dope if you hooked up your boy. Be dope. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Breonna Taylor situation. This does not please me. So if my energy is a little off today, just know I'm not very happy about having to talk about this situation. That in 2020, we're still having issues that come about on race. We're still having issues that people are talking about police brutality. Whether you perceive this situation as a race issue, or you simply think the handling of the case is a race issue, or you just think this is police misconduct and they inappropriately used the power that they had, we can get into that later. But to give you a little bit of background and talk about something that nobody is talking about on the media, no one is actually getting into some of the details that matter. How they try to eliminate the grieving of the family is not a productive way of solving an issue when it comes to a loss of life. This matters. Black women's life matters. There's pain after the situation that is going to be prolonged for generations. There was love lost. You get what I'm saying? There was a lot of life left on her time clock before a mistake, a intentional mistake, or just outright disregard for life happened that night. Okay, so let's get into some of the details. They weren't actually looking for Breonna Taylor. She was not the sole purpose for arriving at her door in the middle of the night. It was her ex-boyfriend. And that's very important because a lot of people are confusing the boyfriend who shot at the cops as the boyfriend who actually the investigation was involved with. Who they were actually looking for is what I'm trying to say. So this was an ex of hers that I guess she dealt with for a couple years, but it wasn't working out. So she ended it and she has a whole new man. She so much has a whole new man that this boyfriend is spending the night with her, right? This is part of the reason that her life got taken from her so early. But so they were going ahead and they were looking for an ex-boyfriend because he apparently was involved in some illegal activity. They're saying it was drug related, that he may have been stashing some of his drug paraphernalia at her home, at her residence. Funny story is they actually located this gentleman earlier in the night. So why are you at her door in the first place? If your whole goal is to get things that he has or to get that individual and you already have him in custody, why are you showing up at this innocent woman's door who's already moved on in a new relationship? Do you think that a drug dealer would say, hey, I know we're done and I'm a little upset that you moved on so casually, so easily, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stash all my goods. I'm gonna wrap up all my money into these drugs or all my money, and I'm just gonna hide it underneath your mattress. And if the cops come, just hold me down. Just hold me down. Yeah, you ain't got to tell the dude, or you can't tell the dude. I'll break him off. None of that is going on. We're dealing with reality here. This isn't just a story. These are humans. Humans don't operate like that. So, moving on. There's discrepancy from the get go. Did the cops knock on the door and reveal themselves? One thing we know for sure is they were not in uniform. They had a no knock warrant. Her name was on the warrant. Um, they weren't in uniform. So I don't see how some people who are leaning more to the right are saying, I had no idea. Um, uh, I had no idea that she wasn't aware, or the boyfriend wasn't aware that the cops revealed themselves, or that the cops were actually at the door. Come on, man. If if you want something to go down peacefully and you're showing up someone's house at 12 a.m. in the morning where most people are asleep, you're not in uniform, and you want people to listen to your instructions. Did you knock? Did you not knock? That's still up in the air. What? I don't get the purpose of that. I don't get the purpose of not being in uniform. It's going to take you 10 seconds to get to the door in the first place. You think they're going to stash all the drugs and all the money and all the guns within 10 seconds of you getting to the front door? Come on, man. Let's use common sense. Let's be practical here. You should have been in uniform. I'm wholly against no knock warrants or showing up to someone's house out of uniform and expecting them to respect you. I have no idea who you are. And then you're already saying you're dealing with someone who's a drug dealer and they may be dangerous. Why would they just let someone in who doesn't seem to have any authority? I'm waiting. There's nothing that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, um, the cops say they revealed themselves. The boyfriend who shot said he had no idea who they were. He assumed that they were breaking in. He shot a warning shot. One of the cops got shot. And then this is what the police are saying. There was just one specific cop who was just letting off. He was just getting off with his gun. He had a weapon and he wanted to use it that day. And he just started firing recklessly. Okay. So he fired recklessly into the building. The boyfriend who shot the weapons didn't get hit. There was a shootout, but one person did get hit, and that was the Breonna Taylor, who was supposedly sleeping at the time in her bed. Okay. Can we take a moment to think about how tragic that is? That you're sleeping and you get shot, whether you woke up or not because you heard the first gunshot, you had no plans that day to bleed out in your own bed when you are spending time with your significant other, you know? And all of this is related to an ex of yours that you already tried to put in your past and you're taking steps to move forward. And the most ironic thing to me is that she was an EMT. You know, just think about how crappy that is. She's an EMT, she's bleeding out, and there's reports saying that the cops did not administer first aid to her at all. This is a trained individual to help save lives, and no one is trying to save her life. God bless the boyfriend who's probably sitting there just going through it. What do I do? Why didn't I, you know, hate to say, why didn't I listen to her on what to do when there's a gunshot victim? But she was supposedly shot 4 to 6 times. What do you do in that situation? I'll be interested in hearing what you guys would do in that situation if your spouse got shot in the middle of the night and you think it's a robber. Here's the crucial detail that this untrained civilian, the boyfriend, they expect us to believe that after the shootout, he was so trained that he then calls the cops on the cops in full character and is distraught because he feels like he just lost the life of his significant other. Who can keep their composure like that? We've all listened to 2020 and CNN and all those other networks where they do investigations and they let you listen to the audio tape of people when they are actually the murderer, but they call it it's like I had no idea what's going on, and they seem monotone. You can't fake the reality and the startle that you have in your voice when something just happened to you of that gravitude. So this gentleman is distraught. He calls the police and he calls his mother or Brianna's mother crying. All right, because he doesn't know what to do with the loss of someone that he cares about so much. All right. This is a life loss. regardless of your political side. I didn't say anything where it comes to Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Yet and still, people are making an issue that regards justice a political statement. All right. If you don't get down with the whole Black Lives Matter organization, I can fully understand that there are some extremely questionable things that they care about. Not to mention their mission statement. If you do your homework, their mission statement on their website is extremely suspect if it's going to truly benefit the Black community. And I'm all about supporting the Black community. I'm all about supporting humanity. I'm all about supporting people who feel unsafe in an environment that they're trying to cooperate in. That's key too. They're trying to cooperate with society's rules, yet we can feel unsafe in our own skin. All right. So if you're uncomfortable with the mission statement, or if you're uncomfortable with the organization, I don't care. That's fine. Do you, boo boo? But you shouldn't have a problem with the statement saying Black Lives Matter. That does not exclude anybody else. Latino life matters. Asian life matters. White life matters. Everybody's life matters. Why do you have such a problem when it's Black lives matter? Okay, that's a totally different. It's not a political statement. Everybody deserves peace in a community that they're trying to cooperate in. Everybody. I thought that was a standard rule. Apparently, it's not. News to me. Okay, so it's very important about the details that happened afterwards. The cops did not rush in once the shootout was over and administer aid to Breonna Taylor. Instead, what they did was gather around each other, formulate their story to protect themselves, and want to just get out of there. I got to get out of here. This looked crazy. It was crazy to them what happened. So soon after, reports are coming out. It wasn't a big news line. Everybody kind of swept it under the rug. Then the Floyd murder happened, and then, of course, rightfully so, women were like, "Hey, have you heard about this Breonna Taylor situation?" I took notice. Hopefully, you took notice, and her story got out. Then things started to get leaked. They start to suggest that, hey, what do we know about this boyfriend that shot at the police? How do we know that he didn't shoot Breonna? I remember hearing that and thinking, what? So it wasn't the cops. The cops are good? They're the good people? Okay, it was him. Turns out very shortly it wasn't him. It was one of these renegade cops that was too pumped up on Mountain Dew and was letting off his pistol without aim. Because that's going to be important when it came to the charges. The aim. Aim matters. You didn't hit your target, boy. What was all that practicing in the gym? You shooting threes like Rondo. You looking like Pandemic P, Paul George, Clipper Joe. Let's go. Um, we don't like them. They can get out the city. Anyway, they're suggesting that it could be the boyfriend that went ahead and shot Breonna. That comes out that that's not true. Um, what they then do is try to criminalize Breonna and say that she had something to do with the investigation. She may be associated with some of the drugs that they were looking for and the boyfriend. Turns out the boyfriend was in custody earlier that day or that night, and they still went to her house when it was unnecessary. It was completely unnecessary. How are you this incompetent? Why are you showing up to this young lady's house in the middle of the night when you already have the kingpin in your custody? Guess how we know they knew that was wrong? They then falsified the time slot that they arrived at her house. They initially wrote 12 a.m. Once everything came out and they knew they were going to have a lawsuit on their hand, They knew that the world was going to get upset. They then changed it to 12:40 that they arrived at her home. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? I thought no laws were broken. I thought you were just protecting and serving. You work for the people, you get paid by the people, and you love the people, right? But you knew you did something wrong. Now, I'm not over here saying that these cops were racist or they had racial intent when they went in there. What I'm saying is you were reckless. You did it in a climate where people already feel unsafe. And if you handled the situation with an arrest or a charge or firing, the community would feel different. There was no sense of urgency. Say her name is because people quickly forgot her name. You guys refused to charge anybody for the death of Breonna Taylor. Okay. So a couple of days before the trial actually comes about, they put out this little snippet, right? To try and soften up the community. They're very strategic. And when I'm saying they, I don't believe there's some superpower over there just like literally thinking, let's let's get all the blacks in Kentucky. We don't like them out here. Eating up all the chicken. I don't believe none of that. That was a Dave Chappelle joke. I don't believe any of that's actually going on. What I do believe is the lack of value that you have placed on black women or minorities, and honestly, the lack of outrage that we have for some of this injustice that's going on. You know, in your day to day, when we experience things that we know are wrong, I'm talking about me included, and we don't stand up and we don't create paperwork that has then created a paper trail of people's attitudes and perspectives and actions towards people that look like you and me, we're negligent. We can't just pop off and get mad and yell at them, rah, 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 rah. I might go ahead, I might fight you. You're not, that does nothing. You just look like the angry guy. You just look like the angry girl, the loud person. Everybody in the vicinity immediately assumes that you're delusional and you can't control yourself. And you aren't a threat for a corporate situation. You're a threat for an immediate situation. We need to get things organized in a fashion that's going to allow people to fear us based on our economic retaliation and our, you could say protesting is good or bad. I don't have a problem with protesting because it's legal. I have a problem with rioting. Not all protests are riots. That's important to separate those two things too. Not all protesters are rioters. Okay. Um, I'm running low on time. I got to get to work. Basically, long story short, they paid off Breonna's family with $12 million. This is the piece of information that nobody's talking about. $12 million, right? That's taxpayer money. That's like starting a GoFundMe, and I care about the situation, so I give Breonna Taylor's family money. That's all that is. The police department isn't struggling at this point. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We had no idea that they were going to come for our pockets. No, they're state. They're ran by the state. That's my money. That's your money. That's our money that is just going to then get paid to the family that deserves compensation for their loss, but it's not going to do what we needed to do. It's not going to heal their hearts, heal their souls. And then instead, you go ahead and let the gentleman off with um, the actual charge that came across the police officer. Only one police officer was he basically was reckless with the way that he fired. It shot through other walls. It hit other apartments. It didn't hit the person that he was supposed to be shooting at. When you're shooting at a target, they train you when you're shooting a specific target. You're not just shooting in the air. It's equivalent to someone Going outside in the middle of the street and shooting dead in the air and knowing that those bullets have to come back down and it can hurt somebody. That's what they charged the cop with. None of that is associated with Breonna Taylor. That he could have been doing that on his own. If she wasn't in the apartment, he could still get those charges. No accountability for the action. You guys tell me what you think. You tell me how you feel about this situation. How are people supposed to feel when they know that there's a double standard when it comes to accountability? How are people supposed to feel when they know the people who are supposed to serve and protect them have a get out of jail free card? Not all of them. Not all cops are bad. I've met a bunch of awesome cops, and I've also met some jerks. A lot of times we confuse the fact that these are individuals and they have the ability to be jerks. They have the ability to be people we don't want to associate with on a casual basis, let alone when they're in law enforcement. But anyway, I'm interested to hear what you think. If you like the video, go ahead and like it. Go ahead and subscribe it. Go ahead and share the video with your friends. That would be dope. Be dope. Brown loves you. One.